True, true.
Okay, so I'm not responsible. You're on, Jerry.
Hey, vey. Ladies and gentlemen.
You're off, Jerry.
I first met Robert M. Brenner.
That's enough. Oh my God.
Quiet!
Give me an A! It doesn't matter. This one's dying too.
Okay.
Drum roll.
This is nice ballad life.
What year, Jerry?
I first met Robert M. Brenner in Ebbets Field in Brooklyn on August 13th, 1951. The Brooklyn Dodgers were playing the Boston Braves. It was Music Appreciation Night. You bring a musical instrument and you get in free. I brought my clarinet, Bob brought his trumpet, which only shows we both learned how to be thrifty at an early age. Quiet! Think of it. That night, thousands of so-called musicians, all playing off-key. Oy vey, it made the Bobby Blues All-Stars sound like the Boston Symphony. I visited Bob in Borough Park. He visited me in Bensonhurst. We discovered we had many things in common. The Brooklyn Dodgers, Jack Benny, the Lone Ranger, Mad Magazine, handball in the schoolyard, and the spirit of adventure. I asked Bob what his middle initial M stood for. He said, madness. Bob took me to the country with his family. I knew all about the Borscht Belt, Monticello, South Fallsburg, Grahamsville. That's where the Goyim lived. Well, I couldn't believe my eyes. Here on a farm where Pepacton Hollow Road dead ends was Bob's papa, David Brenner, a very successful tax accountant, feeding the chickens, chasing the ducks, milking the goats, while Bob was tuning up his Willys mobile when he wasn't beating up on Brother Bill. It all took place.
Keep those room shots coming. Like every time he opens his mouth.
It all took place on the top of the hill, the Becky Brenner Plantation. It would be a few years before Bob would build his A-frame on the top of the hill. And the rest is history. It was, in the beginning, Bob and Gail and Geisa and Alex and Sandy and Jody and David. And then chapter 2, Carol and Ben and Rosie and Mona. Bob and I have been hanging out for 65 years. That's 7 decades. We were fellow students, we were pals. I can't even begin to count the ski trips.
When he says hanging out, we were hanging out.
Boy. It's all part of the puree, or as Bob likes to say, the master plan. I can only say that when I needed Bobby Blues, he was there. And let me sign off by saying, Bob, welcome to the octogenarian club. We'll always have Brooklyn. Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, we only roast the ones we love. When we talk of men of destiny, who helped change the world to make it a better place. 3 names come to mind: Albert Einstein, Ben Franklin, and Bobby Blues. When Bob was young, his parents almost lost him, but they didn't take him far enough into the woods. Bob was a neglected child. Even his yo-yo wouldn't come back. When Bob was a teenager, he went on so many blind dates they gave him a free dog. When Bob was young, he had no respect for age, unless it was bottled. Bob tried to write a drinking song, but he never got past the first 2 bars. Bob read about the evils of drinking, so he gave up reading. Bob is so ugly.
How ugly is he?
He went to the dog show, and Bob won. Bob is so dumb. If you ask him to spell Mississippi, he says the river or the state. Bob went on jury duty. They found Bob guilty.
That's because I had Bill Brennan for a lawyer.
Bob is such a bad driver, the Long Beach police gave him a season ticket. Bob always wanted to be a procrastinator, but he never got around to it. Bob went to a meeting of premature ejaculators. He left early. The other day, Bob could feel the tension mounting. Tension is his dog. Bob is trying to get his dog housebroken. He gave the dog a new name, Egypt. It leaves a pyramid in every room. Bob has furniture that goes back to Louis XIV, and it will, unless Bob plays Louis before the 14th. Bob was in his Valley Stream office. His secretary said, "There's an invisible man in the waiting room." Bob said, "Tell him I can't see him now." Bob went to the Vatican and had an audience with the Pope. As he was leaving, Bob said, "Give my regards to the missus." Last week, Bob met Uncle Ben, shook his hand and said, "You're a credit to your rice." Bob gets no respect. Bob gets no respect.
No respect at all.
He was jumping out of a window. A rabbi showed up and said, "On your mark." Bob said, "Benny, give me $50 until payday." Benny said, "When is payday?" Bob said, "I don't know. You're the one who's working." Bob is a wise guy. He likes to go into the restaurant's kitchen and yell, "Immigration!" Bob goes to the zoo. When he leaves, he goes running out waving his hands, yelling, "They're loose! They're loose!" Bob went to the doctor. He said, "I've got ringing in my ears." The dog said, "Don't answer."
I went to the doctor. I said, "Doc, you gotta help me. I got 5 penises." He says, "How does your underwear fit?" I said, "Just like a glove."
The doctor said, "Mr. Brenner, your check came back." Bob said, "So did my arthritis." The doctor said, "Mr. Brenner, you're pregnant." Bob said, "How does a man get pregnant?" The doctor said, "A little wine, a little dinner." Bob went to Las Vegas in a $50,000 caddy. He returned in a $90,000 Greyhound. Bob went on a bus tour with Japanese